they all say. That's right, I'ma do this thing my way. Let's go. Been grinding hard on it all day. Okay, we work hard, then we all play.
It was funny. Tom Brady's group contacted me when they started the Tom Brady podcast, the TB12 podcast, and they said Tom wants to know about what it's like to be a senior athlete. And so they brought me on the podcast, and of course, Tom has his assessment center there in Tampa. So they said, why don't you come down and get assessed? We'd love to see you. So one of my trips to Florida, I came to Tampa just to be assessed at the Brady Assessment Center to check me out. Tom wants to know what 70 looks like, compared to 43. And I said, he's doing good, So it was real fun. And I always stay in the Ybor area because I like to smoke a cigar in Little Havana up there. And so I'll rent a car and live up there and eat some stuff on the street, and then I'll go do my business. It's fun.
Yeah, did Tom and the team try and recruit you? Because all your accolades?
No, but it's a crazy thing when you walk into the waiting room. There's all these Tampa players, and so you say, "What are you guys doing here?" And they said, we had a choice. We could work out Tom's way, or we could work out the Tampa way. They didn't care, just work out, which is so different, than Belichick. Like, you're not under iron rule. And so these guys were sitting there. We talked, and they're offensive linemen and D linemen and getting ready to be worked out and blah, blah, blah. And it's just a different, fun kind of environment.
I wrote down just a few of your accolades, Robert, and I actually had to write them down. I couldn't memorize them. There's just so many. So I just want to touch on a couple. 12 Ironmans you completed. You completed the 300 of Sparta, which is an 8-day, 238-mile run and climb trek in Greece. You completed
Let me tell you about that.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Remember the movie 300?
Yep. So
we redid it. And they said that nobody had ever redone it. So a bunch of Navy SEAL guys and myself, we did a fundraiser for the guys that died in Benghazi with under Hillary, for their families. So we did a fundraiser of redoing a warrior march from Sparta to Thermopylae where they died. And it was just done as a fundraiser. So it was one of the more stupid things I've ever done.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, that was it's 238 miles total, right? And that was a run and climb.
Well, you don't run up those mountains. So,
yeah.
When you climb up out of Sparta, it's a 5-hour climb up and out, and then it's a 4-hour descent. So you run if you can on the way down, but most of us didn't really expect it to be the way it was. And so I popped both my big toenails on the way down the first day.
Wow.
It's just nuts.
And you finished anyways, regardless of the toenails.
In spite of yourself, you finish.
You finish, yeah. So you also did the 777, which is 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And the Triathlete magazine named you the most interesting Ironman in the world. So I would actually probably correct that. Based on what I've been reading and studying you, I would say you're the most interesting man, not just Ironman, in the world. So
if you live long enough, you're supposed to do some things. So.
Yeah, well, you've been busy. You've been busy. So you're also a speaker, a coach, consultant. You're an author, Air Force veteran, and like we've been talking about, a super athlete. So how did this get started? I kind of want to go back a little bit so I'm always interested in where the origin story. Where did all this come from? Did you have a mentor growing up? Was it something in childhood that kind of sparked your ambition? And how did all that get started?
Like many, we all have a story. I was adopted out of an orphanage in Santa Ana, St. Joseph's Hospital, at 3 months old, and got the name Robert. So I didn't have a name for the first 3 months. And I was a special needs kid. And so I had bad legs and bad ankles, sort of like Forrest Gump, with the braces on and stuff. So I didn't learn to really run free until about 6th grade. And I grew up in a home. My mom got real sick with lupus. And so she was sick all my elementary, junior high, and high school years, because back then they didn't have a cure. And then I was sexually assaulted twice, once in 7th, once in 8th grade. And I was screwed up. I was a mess. I didn't know who I was. I lived in a very accomplished family. My dad was the presiding judge of Orange County in Santa Ana, and Phi Beta Kappa. And my mom's 4-point UCLA, and sister's 4-point USC, and I just didn't know who I was, so I drank. And so along my journey is that men looked at me and said, "You're sort of screwed up, but you're a nice kid and you got talent." And so men began to speak into my life and began to say, "If you'll do this or do that, we'll do this with you." And so, like my 8th grade history teacher said in junior high, he just said, "If you get A's on this test, I'll take you snow skiing up a snow summit." And I said, "Not a problem. We'll get A's." And so for the next year and a half, 2 years, all I did in the wintertime was go with his family skiing. All I had to do was get my grades up and focus. When I got into high school, my water polo coach, back in those days, we didn't have any men coming to any sporting events because they were the greatest generation in World War II, and they were out building America. And so it was all women. And so the coaches sort of became our father figures because our fathers were busy. And my coach was a guy named John Urbanchek. And John Urbanchek came over from Hungary, water polo swimming, didn't speak much English. But I tell you the big story because he went from Anaheim High to Long Beach State, and from Long Beach State to Michigan, and from Michigan to the United States water polo and swim coach. And so he went from Michigan head coach to the US coach. And he lives in Fullerton, and he's 83 today. And he adopted a bunch of us kids. He and he and another coach, Howard Terry, and they just said, "We're going to whip you kids into shape." And so we put guys on the Olympic team in water polo from UCLA and Stanford and Cal. They went from our high school. And he treated us like the young Olympians. Get your act together. And if we didn't, he'd work us out. And so I got guidance all the way while I didn't know who I was, and I didn't know where I fit, and I didn't think I was very smart. And they just said, "You're smart enough. You're lazy. Do this, When I got out of high school, I didn't know what to do. So I ended up going to college 4 times and drinking, still buried with stuff. And for the listeners, either you deal with your stuff or your stuff deals with you. It's just, get it together, go to therapy, figure it out, or else you're going to go to jail like me. And so I then went ahead and said, "I'm going to row crew." And I rowed crew at Orange Coast. And I was the crew coach this year at Coast. And I'm one of the football coaches now at Coast this afternoon at 3:30, which I say to you because you understand. And so those coaches said, "You're really a good athlete, but you're not a very good rower. It's real technical. And you have to do the same thing 3,000 times, exactly the same." You get a lot of accountants and engineers and guys like that who want to do that, And so when I got done with crew, I just knew that I needed to change my life. And so some guys came to me. I was a beach lifeguard for San Clemente because of water polo swimming at Anaheim. And we have what is called pararescue guys who are reservists. And so these 2 pararescue guys said to me, "Owens, you're screwed up. You need to come in the military and you need to have fun with us. We're having so much fun. We're scuba diving, mountain climbing, parachuting. We go to REI and get our stuff. The only thing military about our thing is our haircut. And we're having a great time. And you need to get your act together." And I knew that on my own, I wandered. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who I was. But when I was on a team and I had structure, I really like structure. I like being a part of being told what to do. Like this morning, I'm at CrossFit and I'm in my class and they're telling me what to do. And I just thrive in being told what to do. If I work out by myself, I'll cut myself slack. I don't want to do that extra set of burpees or whatever. And so early on, I had this inkling that if I would just stay in a structure, I'd function. I stopped drinking at 20. Trained really hard. These guys said, "If you'll go dark and let us just train you, you'll do fine." So for 6 months, I dropped out. I didn't, no girls, no weed, no drinking, no partying, no nothing. And they just ran me and they run at the beach and in and out of the ocean and blah, blah, blah. And so I went in and became an Air Force pararescueman. Just unsure of anything except for that I worked really hard and they told me I was going to be okay. And when I got in there, we had a class of 150 that over the next few weeks tried out, and we graduated 7. And only
Wow.
7 made it. All the rest quit, and they made me team leader of the 7.
Wow. So
And
is that what you call selection, Robert?
yeah,
Is that what that was? Okay, so
yeah,
157. How many went in?
150 started my
And then
class.
and then 7 were selected out of your class.
Yeah, and then we had a few others that were rollbacks. Those guys have been hurt. But the point
Yeah.
was that I still was trying to figure out where I fit. And my sergeant said, Robert, you're really smart and you're really gifted and you're really a leader. Why won't you lead? And I said, because I just don't see myself as a leader. And he said, you're the leader. All these guys follow you. They look at you. And so I began to blossom with confidence that, wow, I'm not dumb. I can do this stuff. Got snakes in my head, work them out, not drinking. And life began to then become clearer for me that I fit, I had a place, and I could function. And I thank the men who just kept speaking into my life, stay on the railroad tracks, you'll be fine. And it worked for me.
Yeah, I've been seeing that as a theme lately of everyone I'm chatting with is there's always role models. That might be the parents, that might be adoptive parents, that might be coaches, teachers, neighbors. In this case, it sounds like you're very fortunate to be around people who are ambitious, people who are ethical, people who are working hard, and you had role models, multiple role models that you were that you were introduced to, and nonetheless male role models,
Correct.
which there's a lot of talk and controversy nowadays about where are all the male role models, where and is that affecting society and how so I want to talk a little bit about how when you transition into the military. So the Air Force pararescueman, my understanding is that they're like the Navy SEALs for the Air Force. So can you talk about what is an Air Force pararescueman, and what is, how difficult the training is for that and to get into that?
Yeah, for your listeners, Army, Navy, and Marines are offense. Uzis make things happen. Air Force is different. We're defense. So we do all the Navy SEAL training stuff, Ranger training, but we add 6 months to 9 months of medical on the back of it. So we become combat paramedics. And when I was in, there was 3,000 SEALs. There was 200 of us because we work by ourselves. We don't work in platoons or sticks or all those kind of military terms of small groups. When we go in, it's all about us doing what we got to do. And it's our job then, we get to make sure that when the SEALs, the Rangers, MARSOC, Marines, whoever it is, whenever they get shot, they call on us to parachute in or to helicopter in. And if you saw the movie Lone Survivor, the helicopter that got shot down in Operation Red Wing was full of PJs, pararescue guys that took that RPG in the back of the thing. That was our biggest disaster of our special ops career unit. And so we're always on call on, if nobody else can figure out what to do, call us. So it's sort of the big leagues of rescue. And it's a different mindset because you're trying to save lives versus take lives. But as you say, we're known as the Navy SEALs of the Air Force. And we never have to buy a beer. When we walk in a room, they say, you're the guy that saves our lives. You're the man.
Yeah, as it should be, as it should be. So how long were you in the Air Force for?
I was only in for 4. I was in for 4 because at the end of Vietnam, they had budget cuts. And that meant that Gerald Ford said, we're cutting military spending, war's over. And then we have 9 units around the world where PJs, pararescuemen, are. And the word came out that you had to get rid of 20%. And so that if you didn't have much time in the service, if you're a young guy, if the old guys didn't want to get out, you got out. And so at the end of my 4 years, budget cuts, and they said, nobody wants to get out. Guess what, Robert? We got you in, and now you're going to get out. And I thought, wow, this is a trip. I just got here having a great time and rescuing people and putting them in body bags and doing stuff. And all of a sudden I'm gone. So it worked out for good. But my classmates, stayed 20, 30 years, and I'm still in contact with them.
How was the transition out of there? Did you know what you were going to do after you left?
I was very fortunate because I had a game plan of sorts. Um, I transitioned right into smuggling documents into the Soviet Union. So I was pretty bored. I thought, if I'm going to get out, I need to stay on the edge. And so I ended up working for an organization going in and out of the Soviet Union. And we would smuggle Christian literature in and political documents out. Back then, it was the Helsinki Peace Accords under Carter. And the Russians were illegally putting missile caps on their SS-22 missiles in hidden cities. So the cities were not on any map. 100,000 people, not on any map anywhere. And so we would drive in and find our way to a hidden city and document it and do different kinds of things, and then get documents and then take them back out and turn them over to the government. So back and forth, in and out. So that was a soft landing for me, because then I could go to school also when I wasn't over there. And things just sort of rolled with the GI Bill. And I found, I went back to school and had my education paid for and smuggled.
So how long were you doing that? The so-called smuggling? How long was that for?
About 4 years.
Okay, all right. So 4 years, and then after that, what was your plan? You said you were going to school at the same time, and your intention was what?
Well, what happened was is that somebody said to me, "Hey, Robert, you need to know Jesus." And I said, "No, I don't. I know all about him. I grew up in church and I hated it." And they said, "No, you got religion." And I said, "I know what I got. I didn't like the pastor, the preacher. I didn't like the people in the church. They're all backstabbers talking about each other, gossiping, praise the Lord at that thing. And they go to lunch and they all badmouth each other." And I said, "I don't want in." Anyway, there's a movie out called The Jesus Revolution today. There's a movie out. And that happened to me in Southern California, that Jesus thing. And so I one time said, "Hey, Jesus," I was under a tree with a ham sandwich and a glass of milk riding my bicycle to class. And I said, I don't really like you a whole lot. And I don't know much about you. And I know what I do know about you. I don't really want, and if you just don't make me a Christian, but I know I need help. I don't care about heaven. If you could just save me from myself, if you could just fix my head and the way I'm thinking. And so I did that. And I became a Christian. And I didn't go to church. And I just did my Bible study by myself or with some guys. Anyway, when I got out, actually, when I was in the military, I was putting a guy in a body bag one day and heard this voice in my head. And it said, "When you get out of the military, I want you to go back and work out with screwed up kids like yourself." And I thought, what does that look like? And the voice said, "Go on the ministry." I said, "No, shoot me first. I'll never do that." Those guys are just, they asked for money because they couldn't get a job. And so I just thought, no way. But as it worked out, I got out, went to school. I went to a theology school and got a degree in theology, of all things, theology and business. And then didn't want to go to anybody's church. So I went to the University of Nevada, Reno, and walked on campus and went up to the athletic director, who was the football coach, and said, "You're kicking a bunch of guys off the team for smoking weed. You're losing your quarterback," and blah, blah, blah. And he was a good cussing Catholic. And he just said, "Well, what's your deal?" I said, "Well, I work with kids." And he goes, "Like what?" I said, "Well, I work with kids." And he used the F-bomb, and said some stuff. And I said, "I don't care if you like me or not. Throw me a bone. You're going to kick him off the team anyway." And he said, "Quarterback, get over there and talk to this guy." And so I had pretty much 2 or 3 guys in my living room, all good weed smokers and, hash and stuff back in the day. And anyway, pretty soon I had 15 offensive linemen in my living room. And then I had 20 and I had 30. Pretty soon the football coach said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Trying to keep your guys from fouling out. You want them?" He goes, "Yeah, whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Anyway, I started a campus ministry with athletes, and that turned into a 25-year run of that campus ministry turned into a local non-denominational church. And I stayed at University of Nevada, Reno, working football, baseball, basketball, working with kids, getting them out of jail and visiting them in the hospital and all kinds of stuff. And rode my motorcycle around, and had a great time. And that church, it turned into a church. And grew a church of about 3,000 folks with 6 services a weekend on the weekends. And it was full of dope smokers and Catholics and Protestants and Jews and anybody who sort of was weird. Come on over. You fit over here, you know? And parents would come over and say, who's that cult leader? And I'd say, that's me, you know? I'm the weird guy. But your son is not being normal because he's not in trouble anymore or whatever. Anyway, and then I was asked to be a business consultant. People would say, are you still training teams? And I said, yeah, what do you want to be trained in? I don't know. And they say, well, here's my staff. Come talk to my staff. And I'd say, what do you want me to tell them? Is it whatever you do? So I'd say, well, what's the deal with you guys? And so they'd hire me and say, can you help us with better culture? Or can you talk on, you know, success stuff, blah, blah, blah. And that turned from 10 people to 50 to 100, 200. And over 30 years, the largest group I worked with was 50,000 in Mexico City. And Philippines Joint Chiefs of Staff, and spoke to Cape Town and the South African Parliament, and been to 30 nations consulting, working with business leaders on their stuff. And anyway, so it's been really fun to one side be back in the world and just, what's up, you guys? You know, what are you trying to do? You know, if I were you, I'd fire that guy. And they'd say, well, we have HR. I'm just telling you, he's not going anywhere with your company. He's milking you, blah, blah, blah. And so I get to go into groups, strategic planning and HR and blah, blah, blah. I'm just watching. They pay me and I say, you know, some will hire me for a year, come in every month, or some will hire me for 2 years, come in and read our mail and talk to us and blah, blah. And it's been a fun thing. And then go back and work with kids. Like I'm coaching football this afternoon. I have 85 guys, you know, that, hey, coach, I say, you're lazy. Why are you slacking? And they go, sorry, coach. And I'm a mental resilience coach. I work on self-mastery because you read the bio, all the stuff that I've done endurance-wise, it's head stuff. You know, it's the mind quits before the body does. So I help people, CEOs, business people, do things or work on stuff that they think is impossible. It's too hard. And so I'm a culture creator to get you to think about your thinking. And we cut the old loop in your head and we get you to think different thoughts than the thoughts that you're thinking now with your limited beliefs. And so I do that today, Air Force Special Warfare, or work with Navy SEAL candidates or these athletes or business folks. What snakes do you have in your head? And then I just talk to them and meet with them and have lunch with them or set up a plan, and we work on their limited beliefs and we change their thinking by them to begin to think about their thinking. So it's been really fun to be in the Christian side, but especially being in the non-Christian side per se, and talking to men and saying, or ladies, you know, what's your deal? Yeah. And they look like, I don't know, this guy seems sort of mean. I go, I'm not mean. I've been doing this a long time, you know. And they either want to talk about athletics or they want to talk the business stuff. I just did a podcast for 22 Australian dentists. And they had their staffs. And so they want me to talk to, how do you work with your staff? Well, then I say, well, talk to your staff. Do they like you or don't like you? They respect you or don't respect you, you know? Are you a role model or aren't you a role model? And we work on culture. And I've been doing that for a long time. So it's sort of fun. Sorry, I'm talking so much, but that's what I do.
So where did that come from, Robert? Is it your skills, your natural leader? Did that come from your time in the military? You think the training and the structure there? Did it come from, you know, becoming a Christian, as you say, and becoming religious? I mean, where did this kind of natural ability come from, and what do you attribute it to?
You know, I really attribute it to the military. They brought out things in me that I just didn't know existed. And when I came out, I mean, my dad looked at me in my dress blues with my beret on, you know, and he walked up and he goes, what happened to you? And I go, I don't know. He goes, you're really different. And I go, I know. And he goes, it's really good. And I go, is it? He goes, yeah, it's really good. And he goes, shook my hand and said, congratulations, son. You've really grown. And I said, thanks, Dad. And I looked around and I go, all of us had grown up. When you're putting people in body bags, you're jumping out of airplanes trying to rescue people. I delivered my first baby in the back of a helicopter at 23. And I didn't have a clue that when I was called to go out, it was a baby situation. They just said, there's some lady and she's in trouble. Go fix her. And I got out there, and there's this lady. And I said, please, just cross your legs. We got an hour to get to the hospital. And she just opened her legs up and pulled up her dress, and this kid's crowning. And I said to the captain in the helicopter, I said, we're having a baby back here. And he said, have fun, Rook. And I didn't know what a prolapse cord was, but the kid was blue. So you stick your hand up in there, and grab that thing. And I didn't have any training, but you have to figure things out. And once it's all about you having to figure things out under pressure, that'll change your life. And when I was lifeguarding the beach, I got hired at 15 and a half in San Clemente, and I was 15 and a half. So I was really young, and they put me by the pier, and you know where the pier is. And so I had that tower 2 right to the right side, and I had my first kid die in my arms at 15 and a half. He bled out, blood coming out of his butt. He severed he was surfing. And if you know what purling is, the board goes forward, then shoots back, and it hit him right here in his diaphragm, and it cut his aorta in half. And so he was pumping all that blood, and he waving at me, I'm dying. And he's probably 17, 18. I'm 15 and a half. I said, you're not dying. He goes, yeah, I'm blind. I can't see. So I can't see. So I can't see anything. I'm blind. I'm dying. I said, no, you aren't. I got him up on the beach, called 911, did my thing, and he died bleeding out in my arms on a Sunday afternoon. Had my second person die on me at 16, a lady at Aliso Beach, and off the rocks. And so when you get in those kind of situations, which I found I thrived in pressure, figuring things out on the fly. And when other people freak, I don't want to freak. I'm called to not freak out. Military, the same thing. Call me, call us. We'll find a way to win for you. That'll grow you up. And I didn't know how it grows you up, but you end up taking responsibility, and you end up looking at what excuses are, and life becomes much clearer. When I went back to school, it's like getting straight A's. Like, what's the problem? I can do this. Before it was C's and B's and D's, like, I don't know if I'm any good. All of a sudden, I can do this. And the military, for this type of personality, this kind of kid, said, you're a diamond in the rough. We're going to shape you and cut you and polish you. And when I got out, people just said, come work with us, help us, change us. Like this football coach, I'm the head coach for crew, Orange Coast crew, meaning I'm going to get in your head. And I said, this culture is just super immature, mentally immature, emotionally immature. I mean, look at these kids. They're hardly in the game at all with their heads, and you're trying to get them to perform, and they're blowing you off and telling jokes and stuff. And we sort of nicely whipped them into shape in 3 months, every morning on the water at 6 a.m. And they went to nationals and beat Purdue, and they beat Wisconsin. They beat all these schools. They got 10th in the nation, Orange Coast College, against all the 4-year schools in the nation. And the coach goes, I didn't think this was possible. I said, it's in their heads. And then the football coach calls me and says, do to the football team what you did to the crew, would you please? And that's what I'm doing this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Look at these kids. And I love you. I'm for you. But you're a joke. Why are you loafing? And they listen because I'm a grandpa or something. And so, yes, to your question, I would say that what the military did for me saved my life in one way and brought me out and gave me confidence when I never really had a bunch of confidence.
Well, and so you ended up writing all your ideas, all your approaches, your strategies, your tactics in a book, right? And that's what Beyond Average is. So can you talk a little bit about what's in the book and kind of hit some highlights for people listening? Because I think there's definitely a missing element of what people should be doing mentally, what people should be doing physically. I don't think, especially in the States, Americans are getting the type of mentoring and coaching from maybe from their household. I don't think they're getting it from academia any longer, or elsewhere, and definitely not getting in social media. So can you hit those highlights of what's in the book and how people could actually thrive and not just survive?
Well, it's a lot there in your question. Good question. Let me just say that the book is really written for young people. And what it is beyond average of my life when I stopped being average and mediocre. And I began to believe in excellence and believe in what we do. This SEAL Fit shirt, I work for SEAL Fit, which is a CrossFit made for Navy SEALs, for Navy SEAL training. And we teach that there's 20 times more potential in every person if they've allowed someone to bring it out in them, whether it's mentoring or coaching. But we believe that you can't be the best you can be without someone bringing it out of you. Why? Because there's too much pain. And the pain is physical pain. The pain is relational pain. Like, you can't hang with them anymore. If you're going to do this, those people are losers and they're going to weigh you down. So you have to cut. And maybe family, maybe friends, but there's relational pain, physical pain, emotional pain, social pain, financial pain. If you really want something, you don't sacrifice anything. It's a joy to focus on one thing. And if I see someone says, well, I have to sacrifice this, then you really don't have your why squared away. Because if you really wanted that girl, you'd move heaven and earth to get her. And if you really wanted $1 million, you would do whatever it took to get to that $1 million. And I say that if you really find what it is you really want to do, you don't sacrifice anything. It's the joy of, I'm going to do this. Let that stuff fall away. And there needs to be someone who says to you, if you want to attain your goals or your dreams, then it's going to cost you this. Are you willing to pay that price to get to that place? And most guys will lie to you, or ladies say, yeah, I think so. And you can look in their eyes, they don't have it. And so once you learn, like when I have these kids, we do in our military special ops training for incoming candidates, we do a 50-hour nonstop. And we run them out of Temecula, and then we put them in the ocean all night doing beach PD. And we do then a night run. The second night, we do them up Palomar Mountain, San Diego stuff. Anyway, the kids quit. They say, I want to be a Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, this and that. And we said, great, we're all for you. And we're all Navy SEAL instructors, except for me. I'm pararescue. And when the kids begin to quit, we say, if I gave you $1 million, would you go on? Oh, yeah. So why are you quitting? It's too hard. But if I gave you $1 million, would you find a way to win? Yeah. So if I give you $100, would you quit? Yeah, I'd still quit. If I give you $500, would you quit? Yeah, I'd still quit. If I give you $1 million, would you quit? Hell no. And so then they get this thing, I don't want it bad enough. And I can be talked out of my why when the pain comes. And we will say to them, it's our job to take you into that zone where you want to give up. Because we all want to give up in our marriage or with our job or a boss or work. All your life, you'll have reasons that you want to just say, I'm done, shuffle the cards up, I'll do something else. And we say to them, you can work through that if you learn how to handle and cope with pressure. And my book is and I'll talk about the entrepreneur thing. My book is that when I learned that when I could focus and get my head right, I could do almost anything. And that was a revelation to an average, mediocre thinking kid. And I work with people today with limited beliefs and say, you could do this, you just don't want it bad enough. And they say, what's it going to cost me? And I say, everything. You're going to die. You'll have no friends. You won't do this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there was an Ironman couple, world champions. Both were supposed to win Kona in the male and the female divisions, married. And they went and separated for 6 months before the race. to train. And so she went over here and he went over here. They didn't see each other for 6 months, didn't talk to each other except for a few little things. And they both focused. And you'd say, well, that's pretty intense. Well, they wanted it. When you want something, and he won, and she got third place. And so everybody just wrote it up, what is this couple? Well, they wanted what they wanted. It was worth the cost. So for me, working with men and women, I want to find out what they want. I say, yay, I'm all for that. How bad? And then you sort of say, you're lying to yourself. You don't want it that bad because of this and this and this and this. And then they get a revelation and they go, oh, and I said, but you can, it's possible. If you go to Tim Grover was Michael Jordan's trainer. Do you know about Tim?
I do.
And did you read his book?
I haven't, I got the audiobook. Yep.
Did you listen to it?
I did.
Grover, when he says to Jordan, how great do you want to be? You want to be, all league, or you want to be this or that? He goes, you want to be the greatest of all time. Remember that part? And he said, well, then I'm not your friend anymore. I'm going to be an asshole because I'm here to make you the greatest of all time. And that I'm not going to coddle you. I'm not going to be your buddy. I'm going to kick your ass. And Jordan said, bring it. Remember that?
I do. And the key there is that he said, bring it.
He said, bring it. And what happened when he went to baseball? Kobe comes along and says, dude, to me, what you did to Jordan, the Black Mamba. He said, well, then I'm going to kick your ass too. And then you get Kobe. And then Dwayne Wade comes along and says, do it to me. So it's something for all of us. None of us are really pressed to pay a price a lot. And most of us want to be comfortable. And the Harvard studies are saying that the most unhappy people are the most comfortable people. Because where you really find value in life is getting wins, daily wins, or wins where you go, God, I did it. I didn't know I could do it. And when you do something hard every day that you don't want to do, Goggins would say, embrace the suck. If you want to be great, embrace the suck. Well, nobody wants to embrace the suck. And that's why the Nike thing, just do it, was the greatest sales, marketing scheme, and no one could do it. Just do it. Oh yeah, I just do it. Nobody can just do it. It's just too hard. And so you and I can encourage people that they really can do these things, but they gotta do something outside their comfortability, because everything you want lies outside your comfortability. And once you become comfortable, you settle and you begin to want comfort creatures and all these things, more money and bigger houses, more air conditioning and more vacations, thinking that's going to make you happy. But it doesn't. What makes you happy is every day doing something where you go, I did it. One less cigarette, one less donut, one this or that. I did it today. I did it. And so I'm here to give people wins. But I say to them, it's going to cost you. And they go, how much? I say, and the book says, there's life beyond average and mediocre, but you got to stay uncomfortable 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Wait a minute, I paid my dues. Well, then go sit out somewhere, have your glass of wine, smoke a cigar, get fat. And maybe that makes, I go to the American Legion, right? And I say, why do you guys drink so much? Because they pulled the plug on their life. I'm just not existing, waiting to go home. Why? Well, let's tell stories and be around each other, just drink. And I say, but you have so much capability. I don't want it anymore. And so you understand that if you live that thing of, I want to be more, I want to do more, I want to experience more, I want to be healthier, I want to think better, I want to not be who I am, I want to respect the person in the mirror. There's ways to do that. And I'm here like you to encourage people that you can live a life that's maybe beyond average, is mediocre is at a level for one, but it's different for another level. But everybody needs to be challenged continuously if they're going to stay in the game. Otherwise, they become irrelevant, tell old stories only. That's my book, Beyond Average.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I think everyone as a first step, number one, should really do an audit of their input. So, what are they watching? What are they surrounding themselves with? What are they exposing themselves to? And I think that's very important. Quality that comes in really affects what comes out, your output. And a second step is I would definitely grab your book. What I want to do, Robert, if it's okay with you, I want to grab 5 books. It'll be my treat, and do a giveaway of those 5 books to people who are listening, so we could start getting even more of the books in the people's hands, and that'll be our gift to the listeners. But it's very important from what I've seen for myself, what I've been trying to do for my 2 kids, and everyone I've been speaking with who are successful and thriving. And you're a perfect example of this, is they really control their daily lives, what they're eating, what they're exposed to, whether it's media, whether it's social media, who they spend their time with, what kind of business they're getting involved in. Like you said, their mental attitude, what are their limited beliefs, and how did they actually overcome all the adversities. You mentioned a few of yours when you were a child, and there are quite a bit there, I'm sure, that you haven't even spoke about just yet. So it's very important. We all go through these adversities. I think it's very important if you have the right mental attitude to understand what you went through, accept that, and then figure out a way to overcome that, or else you're stuck in the past and you can't move forward.
I was taught a long time ago, I don't have any problems. I have challenges. Problems are negative. Challenges, opportunities are positive. I work hard every day that I have no negativity in my life. And so whatever the negativity is, I turn into a challenge, and I turn it into an opportunity. It means it's a positive experience no matter how bad it is, because it's going to work for me somehow. And I know so many people that allow their heads to be filled with the negative, just problems after problems after problems and stuff. And so if you can help people think different, you can find a way to win. And let me just mention, if you go to my website, which is Robert Hamilton Owens, roberthamiltonowens.com, you can get the book on audio. And so I narrated the book, and it was more fun than writing the book. But a lot of guys don't want to read the book. And so if they really want to, get the book, they can do it on audio. I didn't write the book for selling it. I wrote the book because somebody said, Robert, you need a business card. And so in the business world, so what's your business card? And I said, I don't know. I mean, I do a lot of things. They said, you need to write a book. I said, I don't want to write a book. I mean, that's boring, and I have no ego need to write a book. They said, it's not about that. You need a business card, and the book is your business card. And once you write a book, people think of you differently, like you're an expert. The point is, you're not an expert at all, but you got a book, so people think you're an expert. So, hey, you're the expert. I go, yeah, I guess I am. Thank you very much. I've just morphed into the author, And so, for the listeners out there, you can do a lot of things if you just change your friends, change who you're listening to, change the input around you. Like you say, I don't spend any time at all with people my own age. None. I'm 71, and my CrossFit today, the oldest guy in there was probably, 50. And I'm doing man makers with him, and I'm doing clean and jerks, and I'm doing stuff, and I'm having a tough time getting off the floor. I do have to do burpees in between. And I'm just laughing at these, they go, hey, go, Robert. Hey, knock out another set. You're doing good, Robert. And I hang around young people because I feel young. If I hang out with old people, they'll say, what kind of medications you're on? And I go, I'm not on any. And you're not? No. I'm adopted. I have no history of myself whatsoever. I was told years ago, if you want to keep your act together, stay physically fit. So when something does come and hit you, you'll have a better chance than if you have pre-existing quote, quote, conditions. And so I use physical fitness as my life insurance and my health policy, along with a health policy. And so it works for me that way. And old people just go, why are you doing all that work? And I go, because it's not work. I feel good. I have friends. I accomplish things. I go, that's right. I knew I could do that. Or why can't I do that? You know, I challenge myself. And so, like you said, you have to watch out who you let in your head. I mean, I'm around them. Hi, how you doing? What you doing? But I don't let them get in my head because I work really hard to have a head that's not with that stuff in it. I have enough of those snakes in my head just on my own without letting them bring theirs in and live in my head too, right? So the listeners out there, they have such a great future if they would just change some patterns in their lives. Let me close with this. I'll close. I did 5 things. When I got done pastoring at the recession, I came home and took care of my dad. My dad was 92. My mom died at 91, and my dad was 92. And my dad was depressed. And I said, Dad, what do you want? He goes, I want you to come home. I said, really? He goes, yeah, I want you to come live with me. So I moved home at 90, at my dad's 92, and I lived with my dad to 101. And so I know senior care. I know, all those doctor's appointments and all that stuff. But I put him on a physical fitness program. And he was more fit at 101 than he was at 92. He said he was bored. So I made him do a bunch of stuff. And he said, why? I said, because I'm not going to come help you get out of that chair all the time when you got to pee. You pee every 30 minutes. I got to be around every 30 minutes to pull you out of that chair. So we're getting rid of the chair. He goes, you can't get rid of this is my chair. I said, well, you got to earn it, Dad. I'm not coming in here all the time, getting on a chair. So I put him on a squat program on his cane and stuff. Anyway, he became really physical fit, push-ups, sit-ups, air squats, blah, blah, blah. And he had dazzled folks, amazed folks. But at the end of that time, he said, what are you doing? I'm dead. And I said, I don't know. And I said, how long are you going to live anyway? He said, you're in no matter what, right? I said, I think I asked him at 96. He goes, I'm going for 105. You here? I go, I guess I'm here, Dad. And so he said, but when I die, remember, you're irrelevant now. No one knows who you are. You haven't been doing anything. You've been taking care of me and blah, blah. Taking me for my 3 walks a day, So I knew I needed to get back speaking, coaching, blah, blah, blah. I need to get back on the national scene. So as an entrepreneur, I devised 5 events that if I could pull them off at my age, it would leapfrog me back into the national stage. And so I went to 5, and 4 of which I was told, you're too old, don't show up. I said, got it. And one was another Ironman, which would be my 12th Ironman, which that was, in a sense, for me, it was a piece of cake. I can knock that thing out. Once you get in shape, you can do a lot of things. It's not like I have to get in Ironman shape. I get in shape and I can do an Ironman just because I get in the right kind of shape. Anyway, I then let people know I was going to do 5 things. And they all said, that's really dumb. That's really stupid. Like the 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents, or the run across Greece, 238 miles, or I did the 50-hour nonstop military thing as the oldest guy ever to attempt it with all these kids, and some other stuff. When I got done with the 50 things, it went boom, national. This senior, 24-hour fitness wants to do an article on me, and nutritious companies, blah, blah. They all want to do stuff on this specimen. And I went, wow, it worked. The point I'm saying to the listeners is you've got to have a way to work your plan. You got to have a plan, and then you got to work your plan. And it's going to be risky, and you can't live a balanced life during certain seasons of your life when you really got to focus, because when you then do that thing, then you can go back and live a balanced life, and everybody wants you on their podcasts or on their TV shows, right? How'd you do that? Well, I lived unbalanced for a period of time to do this to get to your program. Oh, and a lot of guys are not entrepreneurial. They don't have the plan of what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, what the cost is for what season of time. Of course, I had to go to my wife and say, will you sign off that I'm going to live unbalanced? Otherwise, it would be an unhappy place. And she said, how long you could be unbalanced? And I said, probably 3 years. And she said, actually, I said 2, but I had surgery on the shoulder, blew it out. And so it moved into a 3-year deal. I said, I'm going to get up every morning at 3:45. I'm going to go drive. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this workout, get this workout in. I'm going to eat this stuff. I'm going to do this stuff. Then injuries. And then I'm going to knock out these 5 things. And she knew me from, years and years of me doing stuff. And she said, all right, just so long as you do A, B, C, and D with me, you do this. Because I want her to be happy along the journey and not be mad. The point is that business guys need to think, or ladies need to think entrepreneurially and get mentors who can help them think differently than what they're thinking now. And I've always gone to outliers and said to them, when you look at me, what do you see? Or you do this, how can I do that? And I've had mentors all my life where I can go to them and say, I don't know about this. What questions should I ask you that I don't even know that I should ask you? I'm clueless. Oh, this is what you really ought to be asking me. Oh, well, thank you very much. So I'm asking you, what do I do now? I have a limited amount of thoughts in my brain, but the real thoughts are going to help me are out here, but I haven't thought of them, right? This is how I think. And if you can get around people that'll open this bucket up, people dump stuff in your head, new ideas, possibilities, insights, you could do a lot more than you think you can. But if you live right here, you're stuck with your stuff. And from your family or from your own snakes in your head or your limited beliefs, and you just live here. And that's where your podcast can help people think outside. Like the dentist in Australia, I said some normal things. They thought it was rocket science. And I went, it really isn't that big of a deal. And there was a huge, oh, wow, I never thought of that, I've had those moments, those aha moments also. So as your business listeners, make sure they have mentors that they can ask questions. I've always had somebody 20 years older than me in my life that I can ask questions, money, kids, marriage, entrepreneurship. And then I have kids in my life 20 years younger that I help them. I mentor them. So I ask and then I give away, and it keeps a good flow going in my head. Does that make sense?
It really does. Yeah. Yeah. And it's powerful information, and it's really inspiring. I know a lot of people are going to want to reach out to you. You mentioned the website. I'm going to put the link down below. Is that how folks, if you have companies that want to get in touch with you, Robert, is that the best way for them to do it?
Yeah. But I'll do this. This will be pretty radical. Write this down. Here's my phone number, 949-542. Remember 949 to 741? Remember when you lived out here?
Yeah.
949-542-9600. And my email is my name, Robert Owens. But I added a second S on it because there's so many Robert Owenses for my kids. So it's Robert Owens with a double S at Yahoo. Robert Owens with a double S at Yahoo, and 949-542-9600. Anyway, they can call me. It's fun. I get phone calls from Germany and from Hungary and Colombia. And, are you that guy? What's the deal? Who are you? And I have some really fun conversations with some fun people. So they can call if they want.
That's amazing. Yeah, yeah. I think you're going to get a whole flood of emails and text messages soon, which is great. A lot of people are seeking help, and I think that's a good first step. Is for people to realize that got to make a change, and I think you're the type of person that all of us need in our lives. So thanks for being available. For today's time. Thanks for your service to the country. Thanks for rescuing our veterans. Military is something I haven't had the honor of doing. It's one of the things I wish I did. So try not to live in the past and have regrets. But everyone I've met in the military has been incredible. And I think everything that they've learned from when I'm chatting with them, they've been able to just move forward in their personal lives and utilize in their professional lives. So
You're
I
in
love.
You're in
Yeah,
a
I
good
love
place
getting.
to make a deal.
Yeah, I love. Yeah, in the area here in Tampa. So I love getting around veterans such as yourself. So again, thanks for your service. Thanks for your time today. I'm going to put all the links down below.
Can I say 2 things real
Sure.
quick? When I rowed the boat across the Atlantic, I did that for veteran suicide prevention because we lose 22 vets a day to suicide. We lost over 700 veterans while I was rowing across the Atlantic Ocean. If the listeners could be sensitive to that about the vets. And number 2, it's really important that now the people that have listened to this podcast, they write you and they tell you what they got out of this. So to all you listeners out there, I need you to now write and say, this is what I got. Or Owens was a jerk, never have him back. Or say, these things happened that I heard so that the podcast can continue to meet the needs of the listeners, right? And you need the feedback that it was a good show or program or whatever, or it wasn't, or what they'd like you to do. So you need to have feedback, and I want the listeners now to write you, email you, let you know about this and what kind of things they'd like to hear in the future.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, everyone could put comments down below. They could also email me directly, michael@michaelvernon.com. And I like to have you back, Robert, and do more things with you. If there was a way to replicate you, I think you would be a good person to do that. So yeah, what are you doing now? I know you mentioned you're going to be traveling and speaking. Is that something for corporations, or is that something that listeners, individuals, that come and benefit from?
No, you're invited. A lady who has a networking group said, would you please come and talk to my networking group in Tampa? And I said, sure. What am I going to talk on? She goes, I don't know. Just show up. And so I have to go to Miami. So I tacked on Tampa. I invite you to come. It'll be Thursday night, the 18th of August, I think it is, somewhere in Tampa or Clearwater, somewhere around there. And come, love to meet you. And I speak a lot. I'll be speaking for the Pararescue Foundation at the Gettysburg coming up in August. I'll be speaking in Miami. I got to go to Minnesota. I got to go. So I do a lot of speaking, and I do a lot of coaching, and corporate groups talk to me and say, come in, and then other groups bring me in also. The best part, last year I did a 5-week speaking thing in South Africa, and I went over there to do corporate and business, rugby, and military. And one guy said to me, he said, will you do my high school, my rugby high school? They have rugby schools, just rugby guys go to this school, like football, but football high school. And I said, yeah. So I spoke, and it turned out that I ended up speaking to 5,000 high schools or 5,000 students in about 4-week period of time that was completely unscheduled. And I said, wow, they're listening. I can't believe these kids would listen to this old guy. And it was just fun to go and work with kids. That's my passion, work with young people. I work with old people, but like us, but I love kids. So anyway, if they want to have me come in sometime and do something for them, they just have to contact me.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, well, I definitely will see you August 18th. Count me in. I'll be there, and bring some folks with me. And I'm inspired after chatting with you. I feel like I got to go run a marathon, head to the gym, and I think I'm going to do that now.
You just be you. Don't try to be me. Just you be you. I used this stuff. I had 5 kids. I used it for therapy. I thought I was going to blow my mind with these 5 kids. And I went, if I don't do something, so I got up early in the morning, like 4, and I'd go work out just to say, I got to get my head on, get the endorphins, and then go start taking them to school and do the stuff, So I use physical fitness for me.
I love it, and I've been working out for years, always been active, and with my 2 little ones, we do mud runs with them. There's something called a bubble run. Yep. So it's like a mile or 2 miles, and there's all the massive bubbles, like 7 feet high. So they love doing that. So we do a lot of races and things like that, and they're loving it. We take them to indoor gyms where they have to do these massive obstacles. So we're starting them from a young age, and for me, it's part of health. We actually schedule time to work out, schedule time to be active. We're hiking all the time. We spend as much time as possible outdoors, getting the fresh air and sunshine. It's not just something you do, it's something that's a necessity. From my perspective. So it's a massive, massive part of our lives. And that's how we're raising our kids to do the same. So yeah, I love that. I've been sitting for way too long today, and you've inspired me to actually get out even more. So I'm definitely going to head out, probably head to the gym soon. But Robert, yeah, thanks again for your time. I appreciate it. Let's definitely stay in touch.
Send me your contact information besides this, and we'll be in contact before Tampa.
All right. Sounds good, Robert. I appreciate it.
Michael.
Thanks once again.
Have fun.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Let's go. I don't care what they all say. That's right. I'ma do this thing my way. Let's go. Been grinding hard on it all day. Okay. We work hard, then we all play. Yeah, I'm addicted to the grind, man.